the mountain falls, I'll be the sea to swallow it all. When monkey rages, I will free the cage. When hope is gone, I have the strength to carry you on. When heat is rising, I will be the sea, I will be the water, I will be the ocean to sail the blues away. Let me lie.
And welcome into another edition of the Football Stories radio show, coming to you guys live here on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter, everywhere you can find a podcast after podcast platforms after the show is over. My name is Matt Santaleri, co-hosting the show, producing the show as always, here with Al Thompson, our editor-in-chief, Football Stories, the magazine, host here of the radio program. We've got a great program to get to, got a lot to talk about tonight, but how are we going to start it off tonight, Al?
Well, I'm going to say that, say hi to our main sponsors, and that would be Premier Orthopedics of Vineland, New Jersey. Incredible outfit down there. Many locations in South Jersey. We have Willow Grove Land Rover and Jaguar in Willow Grove at a senior moment there. And, of course, we're going to be talking about Franklin Cardiovascular Associates during our breaks tonight. So, like I said, and I have one of my most, it's no secret I send out a script, to a lot of people about what we're going to talk about tonight. And this was a long one.
It was. There's a lot to talk about, obviously, with obviously one season on the horizon, 2 seasons ending kind of in the same week period, and another season possibly rising from the ashes as it kind of starts to kind of pick back up a little bit too. So obviously a lot going on in Philly sports, and obviously we're a football show and we try to talk about as much football as possible, but unfortunately right now it's everything else that's not football. It's kind of speaking a little bit more to us. So it makes sense why it's a little bit of a longer script this week.
Yeah, well, and there's not much to talk about with football. They're dark right now. It's one of the 2 times during the year they're kind of dark. Well, tomorrow it comes to life,
right?
Because the schedule is going to be announced. So everybody gets excited about that. And to be honest with you, there's so many Eagles fans, like they do in a lot of cities, is they plan for trips. Yeah, I mean, people, they want some time in advance to, I want to go to the Dallas game. It's on Thanksgiving. Huge travel plans for that, right?
Obviously.
Or I want to go to the game in California. They're playing California again. It's always a great trip. And the teams out there are really good, the Rams and the Chargers. Yep. But they have thousands of seats available for every game, right? So and you want to go to California, hang out in LA, go to the beach, maybe go to
maybe you're more of an international traveler and you want to book a flight out to the Week 5 game to London, to go see them play the Jaguars, who might as well call Wembley Stadium their home stadium at this point.
They're not at Wembley, they're at Tottenham.
Oh, Tottenham, yeah, I guess Tottenham now. Yeah, that's right.
Well, he's got some kind of stuff going on over there.
Yeah, he's like part owner or something like that over there, which makes sense. Yeah. But I mean, it's one of those things. Yeah, I mean, you want to get a jump on it. I mean, gas prices when it comes down to it are not getting any cheaper. Flights, are really expensive right now because of the gas prices. You have 2 different ways of thinking about it. You have the way that a lot of people really try to do, which is get their tickets and get everything booked so far in advance because they think that that's the best way to seal the deal. Then there's the other part of it, which is like, I mean, are gas prices going to go down in the next 6 to 8 months? Is there any reprieve on the horizon where buying these tickets, later is actually makes more sense? But it could get worse, right? So
absolutely could get worse.
Expensive, right?
Now.
And you definitely want to be able to get your travel plans put together as best as possible. So when the schedule comes out, I know you joke about it every year, going back to the Fan and Pat and Oswald, and how like they go down the list and kind of basically 16 wins, I guess at the time, but 17 wins now would be the way it goes. Then
the whole thing is he's in jail,
exactly,
for being this insane fan, and trying to fake kill Philadelphia Phil. And
Incredible.
I've always loved that movie. And the final scene, I judge movies by their endings. I think we did a bit on that.
Yeah, we did.
Weeks ago, and that was one I forgot to bring up was Big Fan.
Big fan.
And Patton Oswalt, and how the ending was hilarious because he's in prison for just being an idiot fan.
Right.
And
not to be
and his buddy brings the schedule with him, and they're going through a place in jail.
Yeah.
It's awesome,
I was always mixed up. Big fan, not to be confused with the Wesley Snipes, Robert De Niro movie, The Fan.
No.
Not another one there. But
the fan sucked. The fan sucked. Big Fan was
speaking
better.
of fans and people I'm a fan of, we do have somebody hopping here in the show with us tonight. We've got Chris Murray from the Chris Murray Report, WRD Word Radio, host of the Chris Murray Show, Football Stories contributor on the magazine side, obviously here on the radio side as well. Always hopping around, always having a good time with us. Definitely got to make sure you unmute your mic there, Chris. Otherwise, we'll be able to hear you loud and clear, and we're happy to obviously have you here on the radio show with us.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, guys. I was having some difficulty with my equipment, so forgive me if I'm having a little difficulty here.
You sound great.
You sound great.
Okay.
So, we were about to engage on the, we're saying that the only thing going on with the Eagles is the schedule comes out tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to be people making travel plans. So,
that or we could spend the next 2 hours talking about will they, won't they with AJ Brown. I mean, that's compelling radio programming, right? Like that's the going rate for sports radio these days. When you're talking about the Eagles right now,
I even think that died out because everybody knows they can't do anything until June 1st. So
right, exactly. So
and what I'm going to bring up is what everybody's talking about, which is the Sixers finally fired Daryl Morey.
Yeah.
And I swear I saw people dancing in the street out here on Chester Pike.
Yeah.
When it came out, but they're still stuck with their conundrums.
No doubt.
What are you going to do with a broken down center who makes an ungodly amount of money? And I put it in your notes. I don't know if you saw it, their salaries.
Yeah.
And for next year. And Paul George and him, I mean, they're Powerball numbers.
It's a big task for obviously Bob Myers is taking over as the interim, very involved with the Golden State Warriors operation, hanging up some banners there under the Steph Curry era out there in Golden State with Steve Kerr, Draymond, and obviously Clay and the rest of the crew that was out there. He comes in here to see if he's going to be able to find the new GM and whether he's going to be making any actual moves as the interim GM before they find the guy who's eventually going to replace Daryl Morey. Both of those guys are going to have a lot on their plate to try to figure out here because you have a team that, has tremendous young talent in Tyrese Maxey and VJ Edgecombe. Both guys who are honestly under, great deals when it comes to the amount of money they make versus their output on the basketball court. And then you have the albatross contracts, right? You have Joel Embiid, who, when healthy, looks like he's an absolute MVP kind of a guy who changes a series, right? It's no doubt that Joel Embiid's impact in the Boston Celtics series was felt, and it was a big reason on why they ended up winning that series. And then on the opposite end of that, you have Paul George, who, played, again, pretty well in that Boston Celtics series, played pretty good during stretches during the season, but then has a 25-game suspension, doesn't quite ever gain the value you would look at in a max contract of a guy that you're spending that amount of money on, and in a league in which you only have finite amount of those max contract spots and ability to spend without going up over a particular limit that this team obviously looks like they don't want to be at, right? Josh Harris seems like he told Daryl Morey, get me under that apron, get me out of that luxury tax spot, which is a big reason why they traded Jared McCain at the trade deadline, a move that Joel Embiid spoke out against, that he was a big, kind of, I don't say naysayer, but just a big proponent of them adding at the deadline, not subtracting. And that's what they did, right, is they subtracted. And then you saw in this series against the Knicks, they just had absolutely no shot, right? There was no shot that this team was competing with the Knicks. I mean, the average margin of loss was 22 points, right? You know, you have one game that's under 10 points, and it was a close game. It seemed like it was the Sixers probably giving their best kind of counterpunch after getting wiped out in game one. And after that, there was nothing, right? Ball got rolled out, tip-off was there, and the Knicks already won the game basically because of the lack of depth and talent that kind of on this roster versus on the Knicks roster. And, whether or not you can kind of look at this season as, hey, we went into it with an expectation. That expectation changed. They still won a playoff series. The team obviously fired Daryl Morey because the time needed to be done to have that happen, right? His impact was already over for whatever else he could have done for this team. And now they're at it, and they're at an impasse.
Yeah.
It's
or to the team.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
He didn't do anything for this team.
Well, I would say there's parts of the Daryl Morey experience that I think you do have to look back at positively. He did turn Ben Simmons into something that potentially got them to another Game 7 in a playoff series against Boston. Obviously, they lost that series. James Harden didn't quite fully work out here, but he at least was something better than Ben Simmons, who was nothing. So that was something that you got there. They pivoted after the James Harden thing, I think, in the wrong direction, which I think is what you can point to with the Daryl Morey part of it. But it's hard to know how much influence Josh Harris had on the decisions that Daryl Morey was making, right? Like, was it that when Josh Harris was here in control, because of the Sam Hinkie stuff, because of the tanking, because of the trust the process era, was it so reliant on, hey, we don't have a plan B, let's scramble and find a plan C as quick as possible because we can't let our team go down that rabbit hole like they went down a few years prior? So it's hard for me to kind of point everything on Daryl Morey, but the way he talks, how smug he is, the way he acts like he's the smartest guy in the room and that every decision he makes is infallible, those are the things that I think really chase Daryl Morey out of town more than anything, because that's the kind of guy nobody wants to work with. And from a star player like Joel Embiid's standpoint, when he's looking at a roster that he really does believe can compete, and this was before the Paul George suspension and everything else that came along with it, the fact that they traded Jared McCain for literal tax relief, like they got nothing back. There's nothing back of substance they got back in the Jared McCain trade. For a guy who, like, when you look at this team and you watch them play against that Knicks team, or even if you watch them play for stretches in that Celtics series, you telling me they couldn't use another guy who could shoot the three? You're telling me they couldn't use another combo guard? They couldn't use somebody like that, right? So it's like you subtracted somebody who could have actually done something for just money. And at that point, now we have to, everything comes into question. So it's really hard for them to not make this move.
You're losing the fans. And and then you had little setbacks. Was Tyrese Maxey, he talks about it here. The last two games, he couldn't bring the ball up. His finger was smashed. He said he was feeling pretty good during stretches of the postseason, but then he got smashed in the second game against the Knicks. And I'll let him talk about it. So here is Tyrese Maxey talking about his finger, and like we saw, VJ Hedgecombe was bringing the ball up for a lot of the last two Knicks games. And here he is.
Yeah, it actually got a little bit better when after the playing game. Had a couple days to the playing game, then I had a couple days to the Boston series. And when I was in the Boston series, it felt really good. I hadn't got hit, and then I hadn't got anything, nothing in a while. Game two, at the end of the second quarter, I got it caught in the jersey and I fell on it, and then I jammed it. So it's just like, I'll say this, like, nobody's going to remember this because it's regular season, but like when I first came back, we played Charlotte, we played Miami. I didn't get hit at all. You know what I'm saying? A couple games. We played a game here, our last game, I think we played Detroit. I got it caught in the jersey, and it took like a week. So like that trip was in San Antonio and Houston, like it just hurt. It just hurts bad. It hurts bad. And it's like that's kind of what I felt like the last couple games, last two games. So I'm just gonna give it the time for it to heal. I know I gotta do some like hand therapy and different things like that. So my shooting hand. So do whatever the doctors and them tell me to do. We'll follow up on that tomorrow. But and there was no chance I was using that as an excuse or missing any part of this. Like, I know during that time. After when I hit the 3-week mark, I was like, man, I'm playing no matter what. I don't care what the consequences are. I wanted to help this team get into the playoffs, and we did that. We got into the playoffs. We won a round. I'm not huge into moral victories, but you look down to our roster. That's pretty good. It was VJ's first time in the playoffs, of course. Barlow, Justin, Bona, like real rotation pieces that we actually had, and everybody else on the bench as well. So we're gonna continue to get better, and we'll continue to get better, continue to grow. Got to go through the growing pain.
Yeah. Well, I like when he says when you look at this roster and you look down it, and he has to pause a little bit. He's like,
not much there.
There, baby.
He didn't not bring up Paul George or Embiid at all.
No, of course not. Well, he can't. That would have been like not much on the roster, and then him bring up like the guys who were supposed to be the stars of the team. But I think the one thing with Tyrese Maxey is like, he doesn't have to. He doesn't have to say the quiet part out loud. This is his team going forward. It's his and VJ teams going forward. It's one of those things to where obviously Joel Embiid is a MVP in this league. He's a big-time player. He has a lot of say when it comes to the fan base, when it comes to everything else going along with it. But at the end of the day, this team, from a talent perspective, from a youth movement perspective, from everything else that goes along with it, this is VJ Edgecombe and Tyrese Maxey's team, and now they have to figure out the rest of the pieces. Yeah. Maybe Joel Embiid is a part of that, right, for at least one more year. But Paul George surely is not, if that's the case.
Nope.
And they have to figure out how to basically split that up. I know there's an old saying, like, you don't want to, trade $1 for 4 quarters, basically, right? But this team could use 4 quarters. They could use trading a guy like Paul George to get a bunch of extra guys who can make impacts in other ways instead of having all of that salary tucked into a, quote unquote,
the Detroit Pistons did that. They're just a bunch of role players. There's no big stars in that team.
I mean, put some respect on Cade Cunningham's name. But otherwise, yes.
Yeah, but you have your Cade Cunningham and Tyrese Maxey.
Exactly.
And you can make a case for VJ Edgecombe. The rest of the Cade Cunningham, the rest of that team has overachieved. What's his name has looked really good. The former Sixer.
Tobias
Harris.
Tobias Harris has looked good all year.
Yeah, Tobias Harris would always look good as a team when he's their 5th option, which is the problem with the Sixers is he wasn't the 5th option, right? He was put into a position where he had to be the number 2 option because Ben Simmons wouldn't shoot the ball, or James Harden would take nights off, right? So it was like not only was he not the number 3 option like he should, like at worst he would have been. He was put in a position where he had to be bigger than that with Embiid out and this and that. So yeah, I mean, like that's what this team needs more guys who can know their roles like that.
How do they do all that? I was going to say, how do they do all that with the salary situation? They're not going to be up there in the draft, and you have a situation with this team. I agree with you, Matt. And Al, I agree with both of you guys when they said they need guys who are about 6'8", know what they have to do, somebody to rebound, someone who can hit threes. I like the situation with Detroit. They're going to need guys, in that situation anyway, who can play defense, tweener guys. They don't need, with Joel Embiid and especially with Paul George's salary, I'm with you on that. But how do they do that? Because they need to get better. They need more depth, and they need a couple of pieces that can really play. Yeah. And the thing is, what's the path to move forward with this team?
Well, they may have to do a situation like with a Golden State or somebody is giving it 2 more years to make a run. Trade Paul George to them for like 4 of their guys that the salaries match up. You know what I mean? And let's see what happens. It can't get any worse. And so, we'll see. And then we have Tyrese Maxey talking again about the what insult to injury was the Knicks fans bombarded that place, and they were louder than they really were. There's probably about 5,000-6,000 Knicks fans there. But when you play so bad at home and your home crowd, there was 13,000, 13,000, they're just sitting on their hands. And it just was thundering, the Knicks fans. Here's what Tyrese, and he says some other things here. Let's hear what Maxey had to say.
Yeah, it absolutely sucks, if I'm being honest. It just sucks, bro. It just sucks, man. Yeah, it just sucks. That's really all I can say about it, man. Like, it's hard. It's definitely difficult. You know what I'm saying? And it's only one way to put a stop to it, and it's we have to go out there and win these games. Like, we, just being completely honest, we were better when we played them in the Garden this entire season. Like, I know we lost game 2 and 1, but like game 2 was better. Regular season was better. Here we was, I was telling them it felt louder here for them than it did in the Garden, and it's like, well, we got to put a stop to it as a team. Like, winning these games, that's what's going to make our fans like louder than theirs or whatever. I don't know how to keep them out. I don't know the logistics of it, but it does suck. I can't even lie. It definitely does.
What did you think, Chris?
Well, I'm gonna say this. You know what? Tyrese Maxey was right, and I said this, and I said this on my show. You know what? You want to shut up loudmouth New Yorkers. You want to shut them up. You got.
Whoops! How'd that happen? And your face is frozen.
I don't know what happened there. Something happened there. My face was just kind of, I think, maybe stuck into a spot there because I was looking at my screen. But waiting for Chris to hop back on. Once he hops back on, I'll get him back on here to make his point there. Here he comes. He's popping back on the show now, and I'm pulling right back on. All right, Chris, there you are, brother.
Sorry about that. I don't know what happened there, but you got
so excited, man. They had to shut you down. They had to cancel it. Daryl Morey sending IP strikes.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, see, first of all, Joel Embiid, keep your mouth shut. Don't, play the game. Don't put that on the fans. Oh, we need more Knicks fans than the Sixers fans, but don't sell your tickets. No. How about you go out there, you play well, be there for your team, and win the game. I have a problem with athletes blaming the fans, okay? Because the fans can't play the game. The fans can't slam dunk the ball. The fans can't play defense. They can't stop, Jalen Brunson from hitting the three. You gotta stop them. And you want to shut up loudmouth New York fans? Beat them. That's all you got to do.
Yeah, it's like the whole thing with the.
Well, yeah.
If you don't want people dancing on your logo, don't let them score.
That's it.
Yeah. So it was a.
I 100% agree with that. And the thing you have to look at here is like, what's the reason why you don't see Sixers fans take over other areas the same way other people take over the Sixers arena? It's not like the Eagles don't take over every other home team's arena, basically, in every place they play. Philadelphia Phillies fans travel incredibly well, right? The difference between Flyers obviously haven't really had a lot to root for, recently, but they're peaking back up. But the reason why I feel like you don't see Sixers and Flyers fans travel as much is because the teams haven't given them enough reason to, right? Yeah. Like, it's not like there aren't, fans here in the city who will literally book travel packages to go out and root on their team in other arenas and take over other arenas. Like, we see it happen all the time. You could make the excuse when it comes to the Eagles that, hey, it's one game a week, it's only 17-game season. But then why do Phillies fans go down to National Park and take over that place every single time they play the Nationals, right? Why do they go and they travel up to New York and have great showings up there when they play the Mets? Like, it's not just because it's football and it's the Eagles and it's Eagles fans. It's like, no, other teams in Philadelphia get that same love too, but the team's got to give them a reason to do so, right? Yeah. Like you said, they got to have that reason that you're going to be willing to not only spend the money for a ticket, but spend the money for the hotel stay, spend the money for the travel, do this and do that. It's an investment to go see your home team when you just have to drive and park at the stadium, let alone having to do all the other stuff that goes along with that. And obviously Knicks fans, like New York fans, and obviously like that, like New Yorkers have obviously, traveled really well and have relocated down here, better than probably Philly fans have relocated up to New York. So there's probably a lot of New York fans that are there at the Xfinity Center who aren't traveling from New York, but actually live in the city and are just, hey, I get a chance to go see my Knicks play. I'm going to buy a ticket to this game. But at the same time, it's like, you can't blame the fans when the product on the court hasn't given the fans enough reason to spend the ridiculous amounts of money it costs to go root your team on nowadays at the ballpark.
But all people should be complaining because he's never played well in some of those big games at home. And you know what? Go out there and win a game like that. That's all I'm saying. Be quiet in me and just win the game.
Well, back in the when they were during the Sixers were one of the big three. It was the Lakers, Sixers, and Celtics in the NBA. There was a stretch of like 6 years. Only those three teams were in the finals. The Sixers were in it 4 times in the finals and won one. But when we went to Boston all the time. I went up there like 7-8 times with a group of people. This is before they turned it into an industry. And the Sixers always got us all tickets. I had to go. Actually, we get this is how crazy it was. Back in '80, back in the the '80s, they would leave me a press pass before I got in the media, and I would literally go into the locker room to pay for the tickets, like 40 tickets, 50 tickets, and pay out Domenico, the trainer. That's how we would get them. It's a different era, but tons of Sixers fans did go. We packed. There was a ton of Sixers fans in 1984, the 84, 83, 82, 83. They won the NBA title. 83, 84. There was more Sixers fans in that first round loss to the Nets the next year when I think it was Malone was out hurt, and it went the distance. And neither team won a game on their home court. So we went to Continental Arena, I think it was, up near the where the Giant Stadium is, and it was thousands of Sixers fans were there. A different era, a different time. I don't think the money had anything to do with it. But to your point is that why would you want to go? Because you don't even know who's going to play half the time, and to support this team on the road. There's just never been the incentive to do it, So, yeah, but back in those days with Julius Erving and Bobby Jones and Maurice Cheeks and Andrew Toney, there was tons of reasons to like to go to the away games. They don't have that love right now. They really don't for this team. So, but we'll see. The NBA, we have. When we come back, we'll talk about the NBA. Now that these teams are out, we're down to 6 teams are left in the postseason. We'll talk about that, and is OKC now that they have Jared McCain? They're doing really well right now. They hit a big 3 to help at the end of that game. That was pretty incredible, So, but anyway. We'll talk about that and Flyers. We've got all kinds of things. We've got Dr. Ramillan at 7:30. We'll have all that when we come back after this on Football Stories Live.
Pain shouldn't define your life. At Premier Orthopedic Associates, we understand how it feels to be held back. Our team of experts specialize in personalized care for joint, muscle, and bone pain using advanced treatments tailored to your needs. Get back to doing what you love pain-free. At Premier Orthopedic Associates, your movement matters. Call or text 856-690-1616 or visit POASNJ.com to start your journey to better living.
Jaguar and Land Rover Willow Grove are your family-owned and operated dealerships serving luxury car drivers as well as aficionados of rugged and well-built luxury and high-performance SUVs. Most Land Rover enthusiasts are interested in outstanding off-road performance specs on these models, and with all of which come with full-time four-wheel drive systems that can tackle tough conditions. Jaguar Willow Grove offers a superior selection of premium Jaguar models with opulent cabins, stylish exteriors, and uncompromising performance capability. Land Rover and Jaguar Willow Grove vehicles we sell feature the Willow Grove Advantage, which includes 24-hour roadside assistance, complimentary scheduled maintenance, and free vehicle hand wash and vacuum, free Pennsylvania state inspection, loaner vehicles, and much more. Come visit Jaguar and Land Rover Willow Grove at our boutique dealer facility at 900 South York Road in Willow Grove, Pennsylvania. The phone number is 215-443-5900. You can also visit us online at LandRoverWillowGrove.com and JaguarWillowGrove.com.
And welcome back here to Football Stories, the radio show, coming to you guys live here on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter. Everywhere you can find a podcast after the show is over. My name is Matt Sinalari, hosting the show, producing the show. We got Chris Murray from the Chris Murray Report, WRD Word Radio, Philadelphia Sunday Sun, and a contributor here to Football Stories, the radio show, and the magazine. Al Thompson, our editor-in-chief, Football Stories, the magazine, host here of the radio program. Got a lot to talk about, got a lot to get to. Before we do all that, though, we do have to say some words about our friends
That's right. The Franklin Cardiovascular Associates is a non-invasive cardiology practice specializing in valvular heart disease management and coronary artery disease prevention and reversal. Their long COVID recovery center in New Jersey offers comprehensive evaluations and treatments for chronic fatigue, orthostatic intolerance, and breathlessness, utilizing advanced autonomic testing techniques. Dr. Nicholas DePace specializes in treating autonomic dysfunction disorders, particularly Ehlers-Danlos syndrome and postural tachycardia syndrome, otherwise known as POTS. He is also an expert in managing long COVID recovery, providing care for chronic fatigue, dry eyes, dry mouth, loss of taste, and loss of smell through various diagnostic tests and referrals. Franklin Cardiovascular Associates, their office is located at Lakeside Business Park, 1100 Liberty Place in Sicklerville, New Jersey. The zip there is 08081. The phone number for Franklin Cardiovascular Associates is 856-589-6034. And great people. So, as we're talking here, we're talking about teams that go to away games. The Phillies Red Sox game has started, and all they're showing is all the Phillies fans that made the trip to Boston. And there's tons of them up there, because, overall, over the last 6-7 years, this team has been very good. They made a World Series. They went to a National League Championship Series, went to 7 games. They're always in the playoffs. They've won the division 2 times in a row. And they have good players who don't load manage, I guess.
There you go.
They had a couple guys get suspended for long periods of time, but they weren't the mega stars, but they travel. There's a reason why they travel, but anyway, what do you call it? We're going to have Dr. McMillan at the bottom of the hour. And if you saw my notes of some of the questions we're going to have, I think it's going to be a little interesting this week. But the Phillies, what are your thoughts? They're now 20-22. The Phillies inch back to 500 with a 2-1 win over those Boston Red Sox. And I know that's Matt's team. They're 17-24 right now, but they won that game last night at Fenway Park. Kyle Schwarber hit his league-leading 17th home run, and Zach Wheeler was lights out with 7.1 innings pitched, allowing just 1 run. Jose Alvarado and Johan Duran were solid in relief, so they are still 9 games in the loss column to Atlanta, but they're only 4 games out of the wild card race. So obviously tonight, we have Andrew Painter, who somehow hasn't been scored on yet, and he's had a rough stretch there. Yeah. And Sonny Gray, you know more about him than I do. He's 3-1. He's pitching all these games. He's only got 15 Ks and just 7 walks with a 3.54 ERA. So we'll see.
He's more of he's a contact pitcher. He's not really a strikeout guy. He missed some time this year with an injury. So he hasn't pitched nearly as much as the Red Sox probably hoping for at the beginning of the year. Trevor Story just yanks one over the Green Monster.
He did.
Yep. So I wasn't quite sure if that was going to go all the way over, but it definitely did. So home run number 3 for Trevor Story, who's a lot like Trey Turner, is a guy that the team has spent a heck of a lot of money for, had a hell of a lot of hopes for, and maybe hasn't quite lived up to all expectations up to this point. So that's a big one for him, trying to get the monkey off his back a little bit for the way things have gone so far this season. Honestly, for his whole Red Sox tenure. So yeah, I mean, it's a game between 2 teams that are trying to claw their way back after firing their skipper, right? I mean, the Red Sox did a little bit more dramatically. They decided to clean house to pretty much everybody and anybody who's ever contributed to a Red Sox game. The Phillies basically doing it with the swap there with Topper and Don Mattingly. So the direction of these 2 teams, though, one seems to be kind of catching the vibe you'd like after making such a big move, which is the Phillies, and Boston is kind of meh, but a little here, a little there. They show kind of some sparks of life every once in a while, but it's still a team that's extraordinarily expensive as far as money-wise goes, that is not quite living up to full-blown expectations. So we'll
what do
see
you think,
if this series does anything for them. But last night's game, that was a wild one where it's like, you can't really complain because you're at Fenway Park, and there's so many plays that happen in Fenway that don't happen anywhere else. But that Weiler Abreu fly out, that would have been the game-tying home run, literally would have been a home run in 29 out of other 30 ballparks, and just wasn't a home run because it was in Boston, right? So it's really funny how that's the way that worked out. But what a game that was! I mean, that was a pitcher's duel. It was a fantastic game all the way through and through. The Schwarber bomb seemed like that was just what the Phillies needed, and we'll see if there's maybe a little bit more offense on both sides of the plate this time around. The Phillies have been able to hit the ball pretty well here. Red Sox have pitched the ball, I mean, for the most part, pretty well. They actually have the most shutouts in the MLB right now, the most games without allowing a single run. But it'd be nice if a few more of those games where they pitched pretty well also, maybe happen every once in a while where they hit the ball too. So we'll see how this ends up going for them.
So, Chris, what do you think is the reason why the Phillies have gone 10-3 since they made the switch? What was the big difference?
Well, I think they needed to hear another voice in that locker room. And they needed to hear someone come in and just, sometimes you just need that happens. You tune out the other guy. But the one most important thing I got to say, though, these things happen in April and May. And it's early in the season. When it starts getting hotter and warmer outside, the balls that were staying in the park are going to start going out of the park. And I think this team will eventually come around. They'll be back in contention for a wild card spot, maybe the division if Atlanta can slow down. But I always tell people that sometimes it's better to struggle in April and May than say June and July, and that's where we're going to get a better gauge of where this team is at that time of the year. Because I think that eventually guys like like Bryce Harper is going to hit. Some of the guys I even am a little bit optimistic for Alec Boehm. So I think this team is going to come around. Like I said, we're at that part. I want to see where they are in June. If they can sprint above 500, then they have a fighting chance to come back. They have a fighting chance to get there and to come back and to really have a positive change in order for them to get back in the race.
What happened to Marsh? I mean, he's batting over 350 right now, and he's hitting both sides of the right-handers and left-handers pitching. What happened to him? If people wanted to drive, people were mocking him on commercial radio, saying that he was really just a 4A player. You know what I mean? Like that's a term they use where you're kind of between AAA and the majors. And Marsh, that was him. And now he looks like if he doesn't make the All-Star team, it's going to be a shock, right?
Yeah,
what happened to him? He was always a good outfielder. He's always fast,
Mm-hmm.
And but the hitting has just been phenomenal.
I couldn't tell you that, but I don't think it's good to see. And maybe it's competition having guys like Justin Crawford in the outfield and other guys that are there. And I think the outfield is a lot better than it was last year. If anything,
I agree.
They're a lot better. But I just think that in time, this team is going to start hitting. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think it always happens. Sometimes I think the Braves struggled a few years ago, and they eventually got back in the race. I mean, to me, you can't panic. That's the most important thing. I don't think this team is in panic mode, at least not for right now. Now, tomorrow they may go out on a 9-10 game losing streak, but I'm just saying that at this time of the year, it's too early to panic. Now they were 10 games, 15 games under 500. Then I would panic a little bit. But right now, April and May, the weather's kind of inconsistent. When it starts to be 80, 85 degrees and the balls fly out of the park, that's where I want to see. You let me know maybe 2 weeks before the All-Star break. Let me know where then I can tell you where this team is going.
All right. Well, I'm going to go back a little bit while we're watching in between innings here in up at Fenway Park. The NBA playoffs. Now that the Sixers are out, who do you guys think is going to be? And we're going to do a little bit here. All right, bear with me, Chris, and Matt knows about it. Now that the Sixers are out, what is your pick in the East, and what's your pick in the West? The Knicks will face the winner of the Detroit-Cleveland series, which is what tied, right? They're playing tonight, right? So the series won't be decided tonight, right? So that's got a little ways to go. And the OKC will play the winner of the San Antonio-Minnesota series. San Antonio leads that series 3-2. Is that accurate? And they're going to be playing Game 6 in Minnesota probably tomorrow night, because I think they played last night. So OKC swept the Lakers in 4 games, but there was some controversy, Chris, at the end of the fourth quarter. There was a controversial no call on Chet Holmgren during the play with just under 33 seconds left to go in Game 4, and OKC trailing by 1. He dunks the ball to give them the lead, but hit the travel no call. OKC went up 110 to 100 on the dunk with just 30-some seconds left to go in the game and never relinquished it. Lakers never recovered. But then you look at the play, and you can't believe that the referees let one of the great travels of all time get away. Did you see the play?
I saw the play.
He's hopping around on his feet. He's hopping around. There's no pivot foot. He's just hopping around like he's he's like on an Easter egg hunt or something. And he just jumps up and dunks it, and they count it. And I don't think the Lakers could challenge it or whatever. But not that it would have mattered, because if the basket didn't have, they would have kept the lead and gotten the ball probably. But so we can't show the replay of it here because of TV rights and things, right? We can't show that. We can't show interviews and things. And we can show this as our recreation of what was going on under the basket.
Artificial intelligence?
Well, a little bit. Well, no, going back to 1952. Okay. And we're going to show you what it actually looked like Chet Holmgren dancing underneath the basket last night with the ball in his hands. Here we go.
AI couldn't do that, Chris. All right, I'll tell you what.
No. I'm just saying. So, and it kind of leads into what we're going to be talking to. We're just kidding around, obviously, and but seeing that, and going, I always fascinated back in the 30s, 40s, and 50s, where pro sports, except for baseball, really wasn't anything close to what it was now, except for baseball, and even the baseball players got paid bumpkus compared to what they get paid now, right? So how many great athletes ended up staying in show business? I mean, incredible athletes. I thought that and he was apparently he was a good enough baseball player. Gene Kelly in that clip, that he could have played pro baseball. He really wanted to play shortstop for the Pittsburgh Pirates back then, but there was so little money in it, and he had such a future in films. I think he made the right choice to stay. Yeah. Given the amount of money,
yeah.
And then, but we're going to show that to Dr. McMillan as an orthopedic surgeon. And also, did you ever hear of the Nicholas brothers?
Yes,
30s,
of course.
30s and 40s.
Stormy. I've seen Stormy Weather several times, and
we're going to play it for. We're going to play it for
brothers were bad. I say bad, BAAD. They were bad as dancers. They could.
We have a couple of clips of them to show Dr. McMillan. And just they were extraordinary athletes, right? Mm-hmm. What position, what sport could the Nicholas brothers have played? Anything? Could they have played any sport they wanted to if they came today with that kind of talent?
Basketball, football, basketball, and baseball too. Yeah, baseball. They could play. With that athletic ability, leaping ability, and just
hamstrings. A.J. Brown would give his entire salary for.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I don't know how many hamstrings those guys, pulled when they were dancing, but those, I mean, they were incredible. I mean, they could have played any sport. They could have played, heck, and if they could fight a little bit with that kind of speed and precision, they could be in boxing too. I mean, that's the thing. Although with the dancing reference, though, can anybody tell me in the NBA what is traveling? Because the Euro step, that we can tell. I mean, when you're showing that, that's what is.
Well,
tell me what traveling.
They were calling traveling during the Sixers-Knicks series. They called it a lot, and I was surprised at how much they called it. And they called it in the Boston series too. They called Jaylen Brown for it a couple times, and he's staring at. What do you mean it's the NBA? The NBA. What are you calling traveling on me for? Because you traveled. And so.
Crawford ties it up with a solo shot of himself here for the Phillies Red Sox game. But when it comes to explaining what traveling is, I'd have a better chance of explaining to you what is not a catch in the NFL. Quite honestly, basically, put that into terms. It's all vibes. There's no like actual like written thing or like you could teach. Like I just honestly I don't get it anymore. And once they brought like the Euro step and brought other things like that kind of into the game, everything's just kind of gotten a heck of a lot more murky when it comes to that part of it. So, and like, it's funny because you got guys like Giannis. I'm like I watch him play and I'm like, I think a guy travels almost every drive to the basket. So a lot of it has to do with the fact that his strides are so long, but Giannis.
Yeah.
But it's like just the way the footwork works, the way where he picks the ball up compared to where he's at. I'm like, there's no way, right? There's no way. But like, I'm not gonna call that on him all the time because it's Giannis, right? Like bread and butter of the league.
Put the ball in their cradle ball like a running back, and just because I've seen guys do running starts from the top of the key. I'm just saying, traveling. It's
like what's going the way they're holding. I'm surprised people aren't doing the peanut punch on them. He just knocked the ball out that way. So he seems to get away with that in the NBA too. But it's tough. It really is. They really do. They look like they're hitting the hole.
Chad Holmgren is all time. Have you seen it? Have you seen it?
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah.
And
my thing usually comes down to like it's a problem. Unless it happens against the Lakers, in which it is completely okay. That's usually my line of thinking, at least. So we're all right with that one, Jeff.
In the East, obviously the Knicks are there and they are on fuego. They've gone upper level. Who can stop them? Can they sustain it? Are they really that good? They're probably not that good, but they're playing like they're that good right now. I mean, they were incredible against the Sixers. They looked, and the last two games against the Hawks, they looked outrageous. They looked like they were just all of a sudden their aliens took over their bodies. So although Jalen Brunson's always been kind of an alien, like Wemby is. You know what I mean? Like, how does he do that?
Such a fantastic basketball player to watch play. I mean, you look at go across the league, right? Of just like these guys, like those Allen Iverson like guards that just like are small in stature. There's every reason to believe why they can't do what they do. And then every night they come out and prove to you that they can do exactly just that. It's not like he's like quite Steph Curry with the shooting, because obviously that's like on a whole other different level. Like Steph Curry's the greatest shooter in NBA history. But at the same time, it's like it's on that level where you're like, here's a guy who has every reason, from his draft selection to star rating, even going to Nova versus other places like that out of high school. It's a guy who's just been counted out and counted out and counted out again, and has just found a way to make it work in the NBA. Obviously, even on the Mavericks and having to come to the Knicks to basically take over this team and kind of make it his team, right? Like he had to go through quite a few transformations to find this. And it's so hard. It's so hard to find any reason to root against him other than the fact that his shirt says New York. It's really honestly very easy to be a Jalen Brunson fan. And the guys, I mean, you watch the guy play, and in a league and just in an era, right, where everybody is looking for some type of an immediate gratification on what they've done, or just trying to like showboat, which for a fan perspective can be super fun to root for too. But you have like that Jalen Hurts kind of aspect with him, where it's like, the way he talks, his demeanor, the way he carries himself as a high culture kind of a guy in the locker room, on and off the court, and interviews and everything else, it's like there's just no reason to be a Jalen Brunson hater. Like, he just gives you every reason to be excited for him and his success. And it's a team that I think is probably going to come out of the East. The Pistons and the Cleveland Cavaliers, this series is going to be a hard-fought one, and both one of these teams, whoever comes out of it's going to be battle-tested. But I feel like the Knicks are going to be the representative in the East. I just I feel sorry for them, because whoever they're running up against in the West, between the Spurs or the Oklahoma City Thunder, one of those two teams, Indiana, I just think are just far and away the favorites in any 7-game series.
We said that last year, and Halliburton had him in Game 7, and if he had been healthy for the whole game, they could have pulled that off.
They could.
They won 50 games. That was it, and they went all the way to the finals to Game 7. Halliburton tears up his leg, and they still kept it close, if I remember correctly, all the way to the very end.
Yeah, they did. But let me say this though: there's some things, and Matt, you're right. I think the Knicks are going to be in the final because they're just playing, maybe otherworldly. But what turns this into a situation where I get mad about the Sixers is that the Sixers had they drafted Mikal Bridges and basically gave him away for nothing. And here this guy who won a national championship, and in 2018, if memory serves me correctly, was one of the reasons. Yeah, he got 2. And the 2018 team, I thought he was one of the main cogs of that team.
Yes, he was. His freshman year, he was a good player, but he wasn't like the main reason why they won. But he definitely was the man in the second one.
And the Sixers did not let him play for this team, and that's another shame of this front office. But I think the Knicks are going to be the team coming out of the East. I think that Detroit and Cleveland are okay. And, I'm not saying they're not capable of knocking up, but the Knicks are playing at another level. And you got to give them credit as much as and it's not so much the Knicks as a team, as I hate their fans and whatnot. Yeah. I love Spike Lee as a director, but when Spike Lee puts all that Knicks fans, that's the stuff that, and I have old painful memories growing up in Baltimore and watching my team trade Earl Monroe to the Knicks. Never got over that. Ever got over that.
Yeah, so it's going to be. So we both think it's going to be. I think it's going to be San Antonio against the Knicks in the final.
Yeah,
I just do. Wemby is like good. He's an alien, and he does things that humans shouldn't be able to do. At that height. And he just got to. If he doesn't get thrown out of any games for some losing his mind, he's going to get hacked. It's the playoffs. Right, that's just the nature of the beast, right? So especially him, and so they're going to have people. They're going to bring in like a Barlow or somebody off the bench to use up their 6 fouls on him. From here on out. You know what I mean? So if he keeps his head cool, I don't know how they're going to stop him. And I think, of course, and I think that the Knicks, Spurs would be a great move from just the same old, you know what I mean, type thing. It would be a refreshing change at the top. You know what I mean? And the fact that 3 guys from Villanova, the Villanova Knicks, if you want to cheer, I know it's the Knicks and it's New York and all that, but 3 of those guys are with huge Philly connections. You know what I mean? They're main guys.
I like those players. See, I like the players on that team.
Josh Hart.
Josh Hart, all those guys. Brunson.
And Mikal Bridges. Yeah. So
they're just scrappy players, right? They're guys who again, when it comes to a day and age when you watch every star player in the world argue with the referee after every drive to the basket on why they didn't get a call or why something got called against them, and some of the stuff you hear in interviews afterwards where people are just blaming the refs or blaming this and blaming that when they're shooting 12 for 33 from the field, you know what I mean, kind of a thing. It's it's such a refreshing thing when you see guys like that who are just There's a ball in the court, the first person to dive down on it. When it comes down to having to take a charge and doing the selfless thing to kind of get the ball back, they're right there to do that. They're scrapping it up on the defensive side of the ball like they were on the offensive side of the ball. They're just like, they're playing that type of basketball that, like, if you're a basketball, coach, or if you're somebody who likes the game, you could tell these guys love the game too. And by the way that they throw their body around and do what they're supposed to do out there. So it's like, how can you not root for those kind of guys? And, you talk about Brunson and Hart. I mean, these are guys who obviously we saw in Villanova, so it's hard not to have, like, at least a little bit of affection for them as they kind of made their way into the pros. Speaking of making his way into the pros, he's always been a pro in our hearts. No amateur hour here. We got Dr. Sean McMillan hopping on with us here. What's happening, Doc?
Guys, how we doing tonight? What's up, Chris?
Right.
Hey, Dr. Sean, how you doing, bro?
We can't see your face because you got Ghost Sixers in front of it. I mean, like,
we definitely made a mistake.
I'm with you, Sean. I am with you on that.
Well,
27's of your year,
He's really excited about Daryl Morey's firing. That's what it looks like right now. Let's go. Way to do the right thing.
So, yeah. But anyway, Dr. Sean McMillan, if you don't know, if you haven't familiar with the show, Dr. Sean McMillan is the chief of orthopedics at Virtua Mount Holly Hospital. Check out Doc at drseanmcmillan.com. And Doc, I got some interesting stuff I hope for you tonight. Two of these things are like kind of philosophical questions for you. All right. And not, just, trends, not a specific injury. Phillies Kyle Schwarber is on a tear. Last night he homered for his fifth consecutive game. 5 in a row he's hit, right? He's hit home runs, and I think one of those games he hit 2 home runs. So as of May 12th at 8:06 last night, he was leading Major League Baseball with 17 dingers. We've seen Michael Jordan go on tears. Saquon Barkley in 2024 is one of the great tears in the history of the NFL, right? Caitlin Clark went on 2 historical runs in the NCAA tournament her last 2 seasons at Iowa. Is there physically something that you've ever seen in all your years? You've been with the Red Sox organization. You've looked at pro athletes for years, pro level athletes anyway. Is there something going on with an athlete's body that is a common theme when they're on, whether it's joint health, whether it's soft tissue health or mental health? Is there a common theme health-wise for athletes who can't be stopped for stretches of the time?
Yeah, so it's less physical health, Howard. It's more mental health, right? You hear, guys and gals talk about being locked in or being in the zone, right? How many times have you? Well, maybe not us, but how many times has someone golfed and said that the hole, like it was the size of the ocean? I couldn't have missed that putt if my life depended on it, because it was I was so locked in. And he's just there. Everything is slowing down for him right now. The game is not moving as fast as it is for other people, and he's seeing the ball. He's picking it up right from the moment it leaves the pitcher's hands, and he's able to deliver his body in unison, from the hips to to the waist, to his swing and his wrists. Everything is just in form right now and in sync, and he's really something beautiful to watch when someone is that locked in and they're as powerful and able to do the things that he's able to do. It's quite impressive.
Yeah, I'd see with him, he's kind of I think a lot of people can identify with him because he's not this massive guy or anything. Like Wemby is 7'6". I mean, God blessed him to be that tall and be able to play his sport. He's he's doing this with pretty average dimensions, so to speak. So to your point, it's a beautiful thing to watch. So Sixers center Joel Embiid said after the season that his knee issues from past seasons appear to have been resolved. Don't laugh too hard, please. He went through he went through 7 of the 11 Sixers playoff games, dealing with an emergency appendectomy surgery, a sprained right ankle, and a right hip contusion. If you were tasked with coming up with an offseason plan for Embiid, where do you start?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's conditioning, it's weight loss. Not that I'm not saying he's overweight, but again, like keeping his weight down, keeping him nimble, and really just strengthening that knee are the way to go. I am, without a doubt, quite certain he'll get some sort of regenerative medicine procedure done, whether it's an injection of his own blood or stem cells in the off season. and they'll just work on really just trying to keep him as lean and as fit as he can. And listen, I'm glad he thinks that his issues are behind him. I pray to God that's the case, but I really think, his body is going to continue to trend in a way that's not what we want to see over the next probably 3 years of this, extension that kicks in now. And for the Sixers and for their new general manager and, Nick Nurse or whoever, fills in for Nick, if he departs in the future, it's going to be about management and expectation and the playoffs. It doesn't matter how good you are in the regular season. You got to make the playoffs, and then you got to be healthy enough to make that run. Did the Lakers no good to have Luka put up an MVP season this year,
right,
if he wasn't there when it mattered in the playoffs? I mean, that's all that matters, right? Rings are the only thing that matter in the NBA. So for Embiid, I think it's going to be a matter of finding a way to understand where his body's at and keeping his body in position to be successful over the long haul.
Now, Dr. Bertha, when he was on here a couple of weeks ago, talked about his knee, and he talked about a flap on his meniscus that has to stay there. He says if they cut that out, the pain, it would be, bone on bone, so to speak. Can you talk about that a little bit of just there's nothing left they can do to the knee except you maybe, like you said, regenerative type techniques, right?
So, again, he's had multiple injuries. He's had meniscus surgery, which, again, the meniscus is the cushion that basically decreases the force across the thigh bone onto the shin bone. And, when we look at Joel's knee, he actually doesn't have a normal alignment. Most knees or legs are straight. His has a little bit of a slope to the outside of the knee, which puts more pressure on the knee. And that can lead to increased arthritis, which I'm sure he's developing. I think that's really the culprit, not the meniscus now. So the thought is, you want to maintain as much cushion between the bones as you can, and that's the meniscus that's there. And when you think about regenerative therapies, again, stem cells, your blood, whatever it might be, and we talked about this a few weeks ago with Baldinger, the purpose of that is to protect the remaining cartilage that's there, slow down the breakdown of the cartilage that happens inevitably over time, and also just decrease the symptoms associated with early arthritis, swelling, stiffness, pain, things like that.
All right. Well, here's a special section that we never we want to pick your brain as an orthopedic surgeon in 2026. We're going to go back in time to the 1930s, 40s, and 50s when pro sports wasn't anything like it is today. Baseball was the only main sport, and even that didn't pay very well. Babe Ruth maybe made big money. Mickey Mantle maybe made big money, but for the most part, these guys didn't make anything on the same breath as what they're doing today. A lot of great athletes stayed in show business, right? So we wanted to go through some of the names and show you some videos and what your thoughts are on hamstrings, on ankles, and how they took care of it. First, there's a list. I don't know if you saw the list I sent on your whether it's Burt Lancaster was a trapeze artist, and he was incredible in the circus. Fred Astaire, what can you say? So Earl Flynn would have been a great athlete if we had pro sports today. Probably wouldn't have stayed in the movies, So Johnny Weissmuller. But the one I want to show right now is we'll show a little clip we played earlier. This is Gene Kelly in Dancing in the Rain, which I think is one of the great. And we're going to play, a small section of it. But I just think the athletic ability he shows in this, when you look back on it, it's pretty outstanding. My mic is muted.
Okay. Yep.
Do I have to unmute it? Okay.
No, you're good.
Now, what did you think of Gene Kelly and his athletic ability going back to those days? Could he have been? He wanted to play shortstop for the Pittsburgh Pirates, but there was no money.
He's got great agility. He's going side to side. He's moving those feet. He's getting them up and down. I mean, listen, we talk about offensive linemen taking, ballet and tap classes in the off season to work on their feet and their rhythm and their speed. Same principle goes there. I mean, he's got great dexterity and great movement and speed.
Yeah. So, and now the ones I really want to show you is the Nicholas brothers. and I don't know if you ever heard of them.
No.
You never heard of the Nicholas brothers?
Don't judge.
Right, we're going to do 3 years, 3 different little clips here. Right now, I want Matt to play 1936, and it's a relatively short clip.
You can't sell lucky numbers over the radio. No, what else do you do?
Oh, we sing, we dance.
Now I want to show you from 8 years later, 1943. And this is the first segment of what's the show, the movie you saw, Chris?
Stormy Weather.
Stormy Weather. This is one of the most famous movies. These are 2 brothers. This is 6 years later, and things were segregated in those days. They only appeared in black movies and black theaters, mostly in front of black audiences. And thankfully, we have these great films to show. This is them in 1943, and one of the segments in
Stormy Weather.
Stormy Weather, excuse me. That's insane, isn't it?
It is.
So
crazy insane.
Now you haven't seen the best yet. This is the last clip from that same movie where A.J. Brown would probably trade his entire fortune to be able to do what these guys did. You'll see what I mean just now.
That is one of the most incredible dance scenes in the history of American motion pictures. Those guys could have played any sport. They could have played. They could have played any sport and done well, in my opinion.
This is 1943 when they were doing this. There was no, they were doing Pilates before, onto those music stands. I mean, they did it. There was only one take. They didn't have CGI. How many takes could they have made on that? Or would you want to make takes on that?
Yeah, exactly.
So, what are your thoughts as an orthopedic surgeon seeing these guys? And what, is that a marvel in those days?
That's God-given ability. I mean, you joke around about certain people can do certain things with their bodies that others can't. I mean, that is that. I mean, to be able to jump off of a step. When you think about the height he jumped and then landed on the step below, you're talking probably a 5-foot drop. To be able to do that, land in a split and pop up and be able to do it again in a second, that's just not, something that I would recommend to anyone.
Well, they did it all the way down to the bottom. We only showed a couple.
Yeah, no, and and again, that comes with tremendous muscular dexterity, flexibility, and look, that's one of those things that I don't think we'll see again in quite some time, Al. Nor should we.
Nor should we. Exactly.
I was gonna say, and I was going to say, as a lone black guy up there, I have none of those abilities. Let's just say that. I absolutely have none of those abilities. I can only, maybe I can dance with a few drinks, but that's it.
But so could they have played any sport they wanted to if they grew up with that kind of ability today?
Oh, listen, I can't tell you what their hands are like, but I mean, with that footwork and the ability to go side to side agility, they could play a lot of sports, Al.
Yeah. Well, I just thought I could have some fun with you on that one, instead of just asking typical, what about this or what about that? Because look at your face. You never saw them before? You never saw the Nicholas brothers before?
I mean, listen, you told me something new tonight, guys.
So I just, there were some phenomenal athletes. We think that it's just an evolution, but there were spectacular Michael Jordan-esque athletes back then, and they didn't really realize what they had, in general, because like I said, things were so screwed up in those days. And they're pretty screwed up today, but we don't hide these people anymore, so God bless them. So but anyway, do want to thank you, Doc, for stopping by. Appreciate it. And Dr. McMillan is the chief of orthopedics at Virtua Mount Holly Hospital. Check out Doc at drshawnmcmillan.com. Also, Doc is an assistant professor of orthopedic surgery at Rowan University, their School of Osteopathic Medicine. He lectures throughout the country, teaching orthoscopic and orthopedic procedures to his peers. Previously, Dr. McMillan has worked as team physician with the Boston Red Sox organization. He still goes to those training camps, does a lot of great stuff with high school, athletics. And if people are only listening, how can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, Al, thanks for that. I appreciate it. I'm seeing patients in person in our Cherry Hill and Burlington locations. Our main number is 609-267-9400.
Now you're going to go back on your computer now, look at more at the Nicholas brothers.
I'll be watching all night, guys. You got me.
All right.
Be safe. I'll see you next week.
You guys take care.
Take it easy, Doc.
That's some crazy stuff. And they did it like every week. They were on tour, right? At all these clubs and stuff, right? Doing this stuff. Yeah, and how do you choreograph that? How do you come up with, to make these guys look and just be able to showcase their freak of nature abilities?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you believe it?
Yeah, the thing is, there's some things you cannot be taught, and I know people who are dancers and all kinds of things in sports. There's some things to get the body and the mind to work together. I mean, it took me some time to just, I was in a school play once, and it took me a while a musical to pick up a dance routine because I wasn't the best dancer in the world or anything like that, but. To train the body and the mind, and I can see, I look at Lamar Jackson, who has all this freaking nature athletic ability, can just run around. I mean, there's some things you can't teach, and you're right. It is a gift of the gods. God touched you in some kind of way that not any of like many of us have. It's like. There are guys like Pavarotti, there are people like Aretha Franklin, and some people who can just do things that we all cannot do. And
Cooper DeJean, when they show him doing these when the Sixers go over to like a gym and just fart around playing, and they show this one scene where Saquon Barkley tears down the court, jumps in the air, does a between his legs off the backboard pass to Cooper DeJean, who goes into the stratosphere to catch the ball and slam it. These are the kind of guys that are like the Nicholas brothers of today, I guess. Where they can just freaky things and they kind of settle in on one sport to make money.
Right.
So,
right.
But Lamar Jackson agreed. He has to funnel that God-given ability into a title.
Yeah, that's what I want to see. You know, I came into the house where I had to change my shirt because I don't believe in wearing. If I'm on a football story show, I'm not going to wear my Lamar jersey, nor am I going to wear my Baltimore Ravens hat. Although Matt has this nice Celtics hat on, but nah, but from that standpoint, I mean, to me, you know, and we all played sports at one time. And I've seen guys, you know, I've seen guys coming up who are really athletic. I've seen guys who are really athletic waste their talent too. I mean, it's just you really it's a combination of, yes, you've been blessed by the gods, you know, some people, but it's also a combination of working through that talent too. Michael Jordan could probably jump out of the gym. Michael Jordan, I watched Michael Jordan came into college the same year I came into college, and I watched him kind of grow up, you know, beating Maryland and watching these other things. And you see games evolve. You see these guys game, and you see them evolve over the years, and that's the thing that, you know, that's the thing that sustains you, is just continue, because like I say, you know, that talent lasts maybe for about the equivalent of 5 minutes in cosmic time. You know, it may last to your late 20s, but if you don't do things to take care of the body and to do all those things, you know, that we talk about, without drugs, without steroids or anything like that, you have to take care of the body, because that doesn't last forever. That's there for the equivalent of 5 minutes in more cosmic time. And forgive me if I'm getting all metaphysical, but I'm just saying.
No,
you know.
it's why I brought up the subject. I wanted to, you know, it's off season,
Yeah.
and I want to try to spur some conversation that's a little bit different. And when I went through, and it's always the Gene Kelly thing, when I always watch that, just saying, my goodness. And then I went into his bio and saw that he was a really good baseball player at the high school level. And he was kind of a screwed up guy. He was jumping around. He didn't know what he wanted to do with his life, you know. But at one point, he was a really, really good baseball player, and he had realistic, you know, expectations. He could have played Major League Baseball. But in 1940s, he went into the Army, you know, in World War II, and so that kind of got all. And his parents pushed him into learning dance and entertainment and singing when he was a super youth, when he was a kid. 10, 11, 12, and I guess that's when he got out of the service. That's what he focused on, and obviously it paid off for him in a huge way. So you know, so but like I said, so I started really digging and looking at videos, and just when I saw the Nicholas brothers, I just said, I got to ask Doc. Those hamstring, just my God, you know. And I thought, you know, all the complaining we hear from these athletes and the little. You know, I'm limping. My back of my leg hurts. You know, look what they were doing every day. You know, like,
and that's not counting rehearsals.
And they didn't get paid crap. You know, compared to what they would get today. You know, so with those God-given abilities. You know,
and I'm kind of mad at God didn't slide me at least half of those.
Same here. I hear you. You know, so the Phillies game is still tied 1-1, and I believe we're going to see a pitching change. Not sure. Andrew Painter is still out there, but it's the 5th inning, and if they can get through a game, you know, on the road and only give up 1 run, Andrew Painter did his job, you know, and get him out of there, because they, you know, they've been on a, you know, 10-3 since they made their manager change. You know, we have to see. So. The Philadelphia Eagles, of course, are going to be, and the whole NFL is going to be announcing the schedule. So 2 games have been leaked. Week 5, we already talked about at Jaguars. They're going to be at the Jaguars. It's considered an away game in London, and and then Week 12, November 26th. They're one of the Thanksgiving Day games. They're the 4:30. They're the premier game. I guess that's the best game of the day, viewership-wise, right? At the Cowboys, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So on Thanksgiving Day. So that should be really interesting. And, you know, if Dak Prescott isn't hurt by then, it should be a, you know, a barn burner, you know.
It should be.
And I'm interested to see how well he'll do now. He's got, you know, they gave him, you know, Makai Lemon and Eli Stowers to kind of hopefully compensate for what has been considered a void in his passing game, and that would be to throwing over the middle. And these two guys, their entire college career has been going over the middle. So I don't know what your thoughts are on that little bit of the schedule we know right now, but it seems like when you're really good, like this Eagles have been for since before 2017, you get all the premier games, and it's a strain on the schedule because you're not playing, the same. You don't have the muscle memory thing. You're not playing the same day every week, So 1 week you're on a Thursday, next week you're on a Monday night. You could be now on a Friday. They played last year on a Friday, remember?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was there.
Yeah. So your thoughts on that, on what little we know. And the Eagles' schedule at home, their 9 games is brutal. I mean, if you look at them, so the what is it? At home, they have the Dallas Cowboys, obviously, home and away, New York Giants, Washington Commanders. All 3 of these teams are going to be better than they were last year, I think, significantly. So then you have the Rams coming here. Then you have the Seattle Seahawks coming here. They only won the Super Bowl last year, but they're missing their running back, whatever that's worth. But then you have the Houston Texans coming here. The Indianapolis Colts. Danny Dimes will be back, right? Depending on when you play them, he may be out hurt by then. But the Carolina Panthers, who played really well at the end of last season, and had a really good playoff. Even though they lost, they played well, right? So, and then you have the Steelers, and you don't know what you're going to get with them. Coming here, is it going to be Aaron Rodgers? Are they going to let one of these new guys, one of their kids, play? That's a bizarre situation. With why are you doing this? If you don't want to play in the OTAs and all the, and put a strain in your arm, just do it. And sign with the club and stop this nonsense. I just don't get it. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, I mean, the Aaron Rodgers thing, seems like everything that everybody talks about, he's gonna be coming back this year. I don't know how much that helps or hurts them, basically.
Really?
It feels like
that playoff game should have ended the discussion.
Right.
That was
ended his career.
Horrible performance in the playoffs, and you're bringing that back?
Right.
As a new coach, I don't get it.
I mean,
go ahead.
No, I'm saying it's just one of those kind of deals where it's like, it just doesn't help them at all. I think to kind of have him basically on the roster at this point. I mean, I really don't know exactly what the answer is for them other than that. They go out and they bring in Will Howard last year, and they brought in somebody this past year as well, in the draft too. So I really don't know exactly what the full stop answer is for them, but I mean, the Steelers right now are a franchise that's going to look a heck of a lot different no matter what without Mike Tomlin. As at the head coach, right? I mean, it's a team that, has had the benefit of going from Bill Cowher, who was there forever, to Mike Tomlin, who was there forever. And now they have a whole nother era of football to basically kind of work with here. So a lot of question marks all around and no real clarity basically on what they should or shouldn't do.
I think Will Howard, if you drafted this guy, he won a national championship with Ohio State. Granted, it was like an NFL team. He was commandeering, but he played really well. He was a big reason why they won, and won in the convincing fashion that they did. I mean, showed tremendous leadership, and he won a Big 12 title at Kansas State, right? So this guy is a champion, and so why don't you let the guy play? Because you're going to suck no matter what. You're not going to win the Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback. You're not. No, you're not. And he couldn't even do it during his MVP years. He couldn't lead the Green Bay Packers with all that talent. What makes you think he's going to lead the Steelers to a Super Bowl?
Yeah,
I don't get it. Take your lumps with Will Howard and see what you got. What'd you bring him in for? He's healthy right now, right?
Agree.
So, whatever. So, we are going to take a break. Come back. I have some. We have some more stuff to talk about with the Flyers, of course. with there, and we have, if we have time, we have some pop culture. I don't know if you saw your notes about comedians. So we'll have all that. Talk some more Eagles, and a lot of good stuff coming up here on Football Stories Live after these messages.
Pain shouldn't define your life. At Premier Orthopedic Associates, we understand how it feels to be held back. Our team of experts specialize in personalized care for joint, muscle, and bone pain, using advanced treatments tailored to your needs. Get back to doing what you love pain-free. At Premier Orthopedic Associates, your movement matters. Call or text 856-690-1616 or visit poasnj.com to start your journey to better living.
Jaguar and Land Rover Willow Grove are your family-owned and operated dealerships serving luxury car drivers as well as aficionados of rugged and well-built luxury and high-performance SUVs. Most Land Rover enthusiasts are interested in outstanding off-road performance specs on these models, almost all of which come with full-time four-wheel drive systems that can tackle tough conditions. Jaguar Willow Grove offers a superior selection of premium Jaguar models with opulent cabins, stylish exteriors, and uncompromising performance capability. Land Rover and Jaguar Willow Grove vehicles we sell feature the Willow Grove Advantage, which includes 24-hour roadside assistance, complimentary scheduled maintenance, and free vehicle hand wash and vacuum, free Pennsylvania state inspection, loaner vehicles, and much more. Come visit Jaguar and Land Rover Willow Grove at our boutique dealer facility at 900 South York Road in Willow Grove, Pennsylvania. The phone number is 215-443-5900. You can also visit us online at LandRoverWillowGrove.com and JaguarWillowGrove.com.
And welcome back here to Football Stories, the radio show, coming to you guys live here on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter, and you can find a podcast after the show is over. My name is Matt Santelari. I'm sitting here with Al Thompson, editor-in-chief of Football Stories, the magazine, host of the radio program, along with Chris Murray, host of the Chris Murray Report, WRD Word Radio, Philadelphia Sunday Sun, and Football Stories, the magazine, and obviously radio show contributor. We got a great rest of the program to get to. We got a lot to talk about. But before we get to all of that, we got a little bit of words about one of our friends.
And that would be the Franklin Cardiovascular Associates. They have non-invasive cardiology practice specializing in valvular heart disease management and coronary artery disease prevention and reversal. Their long COVID recovery center in New Jersey offers comprehensive evaluations and treatments for chronic fatigue, orthostatic intolerance, and breathlessness, utilizing advanced autonomic testing techniques. Dr. Nicholas DePaci specializes in treating autonomic dysfunction disorders, particularly Ehlers-Danlos syndrome or postural tachycardia syndrome, otherwise known as POTS. He's also an expert in managing long COVID recovery, providing care for chronic fatigue, dry eyes, dry mouth, loss of taste, and loss of smell through various diagnostic tests and referrals. Franklin Cardiovascular Associates, their office is located at Lakeside Business Park, 1100 Liberty Place in Sicklerville, New Jersey. The zip there is 08081. The phone number for Franklin Cardiovascular Associates is 856-589-6034. And great friends. Dr. Nicholas DePaci has a world-class memorabilia collection. If you ever get a chance to check it out, he still has a museum. It's still open over in South Jersey. You have to go check his office to find out more details on it. But his office is a spectacular, it's not sports, but he's got some sculptures that would put Julius Caesar, blushing, anyway, the Philadelphia Flyers, they got swept too, but at least they went out on those shields. You know what I mean? 2 out of their 4 games went to overtime against, a superior Carolina Panthers team. Obviously, they're 8-0 now in the playoffs, and one of the favorites, along with Colorado, I would expect to win the Stanley Cup. So, but they have, they have a lot to they have a lot of ground to cover. Their biggest thing in that series was they just couldn't score.
Right.
I mean, they scored 5 goals the whole series in 4 games. That's not going to win you anything, and it didn't win them even a game, and when you're leading scorers in points is Travis Konecny with 68 points. He led the entire team with 68 points.
Mm-hmm.
The league leader is double that, literally double that.
Right.
Like 130 points. It's crazy. And so Trevor Zegras, relatively newcomer, 67 points. Owen Tippett, 67 points. And Matvey Michkov, 66 points. And Michkov was so bad in the series against Carolina, I don't think he even played in the last two games, did he?
I don't think so.
Yeah, so they have salary cap space. They have they made the playoffs. They're not going to have one of these. I don't think they're in a lottery, but they have money to go after some people. I don't know. I'm not an NHL guy, but I would think they're going to have to go with somebody to put the puck in the net. Do you?
Yeah, that's one of the biggest problems that was on the team, right? As you already alluded to, is that you need Michkov, obviously, to kind of come around a little bit offensively. He was failing to kind of score as well. It's a guy who's obviously going to grow as his career kind of gets along, so you're hoping that natural growth ends up coming with a goal scorer who can kind of do something at a level that you're hoping for where you drafted him at. And yeah, I mean, that would be the big thing, right? I mean, goaltending was not the issue, which has been basically the issue for the Philadelphia Flyers for, the better part of a decade now. And they're finally getting good goaltending. They're finally getting good defense, kind of playing in front of that. They just were lacking that firepower. And when it comes time to the playoffs, I mean, that's your big thing you got to lean on is like, that top line, those guys who you can kind of like say, hey, on the power play, or, if we're going to, kind of double shift these guys, we can kind of go out there, we can kind of get a little edge out there with one of these these goal scorers that you'd want to be able to lean on. And so that guy just isn't on the roster right now, but that's okay because it's a young roster. It's a young team. You look at them compared to the Sixers, not only do you have the fact that obviously they didn't get blown out like the Sixers did in that series while they got swept and fought for 2 overtime losses in that series, but you look at just where they're at and their trajectory of where they're supposed to be competing. This is a 76ers team that going into this year, before Embiid's injury stuff, before Paul George's suspension stuff, before everything, the expectations were the Sixers were going to be a top 5 seed in the Eastern Conference, right? Like that's what the expectation was. They didn't live up to that expectation fully, but come playoff times, they win a series when it wasn't expected for them to do so. And then they, kind of get outclassed in the next round. This Flyers team was not expected to sniff the playoffs, right? Like they weren't put in a position to kind of have that. And not only were they the hottest team in the league post Olympic break, but then they go out and they beat their arch rivals, the Penguins. They didn't play around with their food. They went out there, they won that series in a great fashion. They didn't close it out completely after going up 3-0, but at the same time, it's still a young team going up against a really good one that kind of knows them through and through. So what they were able to do, and even to kind of fight in this series, in which, like you said, they were completely outclassed and outgunned, this is a team that you feel like can build upon this year, whereas though the Sixers are a team in which we are trying to struggle to find out where they can improve because of where their roster's locked at financially. This Flyers team will have money to spend. They'll have cap space to allocate to be able to kind of improve this roster. Whether or not they can make the moves necessary is a completely different ball game, but there is light at the end of the tunnel because at least you can look at this team from a cap flexibility standpoint and a growing youth standpoint that you can say, hey, I can figure out these couple guys are going to take better steps forward. They'll have money to throw at somebody to come in here and be the goal scorer they need them to be. And if they're able to get that same production from their goaltender, it's a Flyers team that could compete in the Eastern Conference full stop.
Yeah. There was one kid on that team that I was really impressed with, and I hadn't watched the Flyers all year. The kid Porter Martone out of Michigan State.
Yeah,
he
came in at the end of the season. Yeah,
right. And if he can develop the way, I mean, I don't know what his level of ability is, but I was impressed being a rookie and scoring goals. He scored one of the first goals in Game 1 against Pittsburgh. So if he comes in there. And if he can get better as he goes along, that's going to help. That was the one guy I was impressed with without really covering the team like I used to at one time, But he was I was impressed. I definitely was, and not because he went to Michigan State, but he was just a heck of a player.
But Martone was a breath of fresh air for this team when they made those big runs because he came after the Michigan State season, correct?
Yeah, he did. I think
he came right over and started playing right away because he was such a good player in college.
Right.
So Ladar, the goalie, looks like they have that situation in hand. So much brighter future for this Flyers team. But it's been 28 years since they've had a 50-goal scorer. 28 years. Danny Briere, between that time, I always thought he scored more goals, but he only had his best year, only had 34 goals for the Flyers. So I was a little surprised at that, but they need that big gun. And they had I think there was 5 or 6 50-goal scorers in the league this year, and they got to get one for themselves, you know what I mean? And you look at where the 50-goal scorers were, they're all deep in the playoffs, So so that's something I really think that they have to look at, obviously. And it was so glaring. You don't have to be a hockey guy because I'm not a hockey guy, and it's pretty easy to figure out. But Matt St. Larry's face has been frozen now for a good minute. So
I'm here.
But you had to stare at me, that when the screen's frozen.
Well, yeah.
I was like,
I'm sorry.
No, it doesn't make worry about.
Come on.
I know mine's frozen, So
hilarious.
So anyway, and again, we'll see tomorrow what the schedule's going to be. We're going to see as these OTAs go on. Of course, with guys going up on the, when these OTAs open up and players are going to be, brought in to talk to. The AJ Brown thing is going to be coming up, and at least his face is frozen with a smile on it right now. So the AJ Brown thing is going to come up. I'm sure they're sick of the questions, one way or another. Matt? Do you really think this is going to happen? You really think that the if I'm the New England Patriots with the hamstring situation, and we saw it rear its ugly head in the playoffs. Who was it for the Knicks? Anunoby. And the doctors, he's limping off the court now. They had plenty of reserves. That's why you need a deep team. But I heard all the medical people saying, hamstrings always come back. No matter how he looked great all along. Then all of a sudden, there's a long season. Now you're deep into the second round. And so his hamstring popped up. Now, they're lucky that they swept and that the Sixers basically mailed it in the last 2 games. They did. And so the Knicks caught a break with that he gets a long time to rest. But is he going to be okay for them for the conference finals? I don't know.
Well, they said he's on his way back. There's a chance at least he plays at the start of the Eastern Conference Finals, which would be, I guess, about 11 days out from his injury till then. So I guess the hamstring injury might not have been as severe as it was originally thought. Excuse me. But you look at it and you put that in perspective when you talk about the Patriots and the AJ Brown situation. And I don't know what else you do if you're the Patriots, right? Like if you're going into this year and thinking to yourself, hey, we just made the Super Bowl last year. It was showcased to us that we had 2 big problems in that Super Bowl, that we didn't have guys who could block for our quarterback to keep him upright and give him enough time to make plays in the pocket. And then we didn't have guys who can get open to do things in the open field to give him even a window that he felt like he could dump the ball off to and make something happen. AJ Brown fixes that issue, and Caleb Lomo, the guy who they drafted in the first round, ostensibly fixes the other issue, right? So it's a team that looks like they've put their eggs into that basket. Romeo Dobbs was their big free agent acquisition, and he's a really serviceable wide receiver. He is not a number 1. There's no way he's a number 1 receiver. I don't look at him as that. It's question marks whether or not he could be like a true number 2, right? I think opposite A.J. Brown, or a guy who could take away the heat of the defense, like an A.J. Brown could, that Romeo Doubs could 100% be that kind of a guy with his ability to stretch the field and take the top off of defenses, while teams are kind of worried about A.J. Brown on the short to intermediate side of things, which I think is where A.J. is going to make his hay kind of going forward. He's not this, spry, long, speedy kind of a guy, and I think that's fine because he's still strong at the catch point. He's still a guy who can kind of muscle off defenders, work the intermediate, and work the middle of the field.
Right.
And you're hoping that a change of scenery and working in a system that maybe focuses more on his strengths than the Eagles system did kind of reinvigorates him a bit. I mean,
my point of bringing that up about the hamstrings was, is he going to be available? I'm not questioning his ability and what he could do for the Patriots. If you're the Patriots, I'm still saying I think they're going to get the short end of this deal, given what the Eagles may have kind of lucked into. Maybe they were forced to pick this Lemon kid up. Is he going to be available because of hamstring issues?
I mean, it's a good question, right? And I think that's the unknown, right? When you make a deal like this, and you look at it, and from all reports, right, like there's going to be some nice draft picks involved. Whether or not they're draft picks immediately, I think is the big question. I think one of the things that's been floated out is that they don't trade a 2027 first rounder, but maybe a 2028 first rounder. It's like a little further down the beaten path, but Howie is still able to extract the pick that he feels like is worthwhile for A.J. Brown. Because I think when you look at this Patriots team, and even given A.J. Brown on the roster, there's probably a good chance that they're fighting for a wild card spot, right? More than anything. Like, they're not going to be this team that's probably a repeat AFC East champion, coming off of what you've got going on with the Buffalo Bills and them obviously making big improvements. And then the rest of the AFC with the Chiefs probably being back and big time players, and the Bengals and the Ravens and the rest of the AFC playoff picture kind of shaping out probably differently than it did this past season. You're not looking at this and saying, hey, if we trade for A.J. Brown, we're picking 31 or 32 again. Probably not in that position. So they're probably not giving up a first rounder this upcoming year because they don't want to give up a pick that ends up being pick 14, right? Or pick 15, something like that, right? Which is obviously, would be great for Howie and the Eagles. But I think the cost reward aspect of trading for A.J. Brown is at a point to where the Patriots have to kind of go forward at this point. There's no other option that they could sell to their young quarterback in Drake May, that we are trying to do everything we can to put a winner in front of you and give you the opportunity to be the quarterback that we drafted you to be, if they're not going to put their money where their mouth is, bringing in big-time guys to kind of be a part of his playmaking crew, and then keeping to develop that offensive line. They've made good on the one promise by spending another first-round draft pick on another offensive lineman to try to put more resources in front of him. And now they have to make good on the other part of that, which is trading for A.J. Brown. The experiment might just be exactly that, right? It might not end up being anything that's worthwhile. But I think the Patriots have backed themselves in this position. And then by drafting Mekhi Lemon and all the signs that obviously are coming out of the Eagles camp, the Eagles have probably already obviously resigned themselves to this being the way that things are going from their perspective too. But I just think it's like, at the end of the day, the chips are on the table, right? Like, you just got to play your hands. And that's kind of where you're at right now on both sides of these.
Howie has gotten so good at this is he knows.
Oh, yeah, it's scary.
Perhaps he knows that maybe that he saw something watching A.J. Brown all year. And I want Chris's opinion on this, that he saw something all year in A.J. Brown that's related to that hand that he never really got over. Through that whole season, he still had with a bad hammy, he still had over 1,000 yards.
Yeah,
he still was a terror. But is he giving them damaged goods and walking away with a first-round draft pick, cracking up laughing once the deal is done?
Well, I'm going to say this: there were passes that he dropped last year.
Yeah, he didn't give up on them. I think he just missed them. Because he doesn't trust his leg.
Yeah, and I think that's what that is. I mean, it might be the biggest, thing since Danny Ainge, hoodwinked the Sixers out of Jason Tatum for Markelle Fultz. I mean, I do
I'm
think
just
that.
saying.
Yeah, no, you're right, but I'm just saying that how he does know something in that situation where AJ, that he knows something about AJ that perhaps the rest of us don't, which is why he hasn't talked about it. It's pretty much a foregone conclusion that he's gone. And when they made that draft, that pick for wide receiver, I didn't want to believe it, but it pretty much told you what time it was. Makai Lemon is a guy that told you what time it was. But what I'm more looking at here is I'm wondering I wonder what Jalen Hurts' response is going to be for all the things that he has gone through. I know he wants to, to prove himself, but I just wonder what his response is going to be. He may, it may be the same vanilla situation, but I want to see where his head is at least after all this talk about him being at the blame for all the offense's troubles that he can't hit anybody over the middle. Although I beg to watching him over the years, I beg to differ with that because I've seen him hit guys across the middle, but I don't know. I mean, I would love to see his reaction or see how he's going to come out, this season. I mean, maybe we'll see it on the field, but I just want to know how he comes out of all this.
Yeah, it should be interesting. What's his name? Chris Collinsworth always says about the Philadelphia Eagles. He goes, "There's always something interesting going on with the Eagles. They're never dull, And only the Eagles would end up in a crazy situation like this. Not that you had a disgruntled, somewhat disgruntled player, but that fact that this whole thing that happened with Vrabel unraveling with the Patriots made the whole situation just crazier. And then supposedly there's more shoes are going to drop from this whole thing. First, it was just an innocent picture, and he lied about it. Then they found out they've been messing around for 6 years, and they had a hideaway somewhere for pregnancy or something, and it just gets weirder and weirder.
Really?
Didn't they have a place that they had that nobody knew about? Didn't that come out?
There's a lot, man. It's too much to keep up with. You have to figure it out. It's like when you're you turn on a soap opera, but you didn't watch the first 7 episodes that led up to that storyline, and you've just been dropped into the middle of it trying to figure out where you're at.
Yeah.
Everybody is drowning. That's my take on it. Everybody's drowning. Nobody's doing good. Nobody's coming out of this thing looking good. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just, it's a lot. It's a lot, guys.
If you're AJ Brown and you're looking up there and you're like, I don't know, it's just, again, we've talked about it a lot, but it's coming up. It's already May. Today's the 13th, so it's coming up. And so the Eagles are going to have to, let these players talk, and I feel at both times, whenever you see these teams with these situations going on, it's not fair for all the Patriots players to answer these questions, and it's not fair for all the other Eagles players, And just an update, Ryan Kirkering gave up a 2-run home run. They are up 3-1. So, and there's one out in the top of the 7th. And the Boston Red Sox are leading the Philadelphia Phillies 3-1. And Marsh is up to the plate. And like I said, he's having an all-star caliber season so far. Been outstanding in the outfield, and he has been hitting around 350 the whole season. So he's at bat right now. So anyway, for the last, we've got 7 minutes left. Do you want to talk about the pop culture thing I threw out there? Did you see it?
I saw it.
Did you see it? Did you see it, Chris?
Yeah, I saw it. I was just looking at it.
Is there comedians are funny. You either like the comedian or you find out, I don't get it. Right. Mm-hmm. So it's like, if Chris Rock or Jim Carrey just walk into a room, I start laughing, they don't even have to say anything. And I start laughing.
Right.
But there's people like be honest with you, Kevin Hart or Bill Burr.
I don't get that with Kevin Hart.
Or Jerry Seinfeld. I'm just like, I don't get it. So what are some of the comedians that you like? And I just mentioned two of mine. I'm a big Jim Carrey fan. Steve Carell, who has a great series that just finished up the first season. It's being brought back. Rooster on HBO. He was a star of the Office, Bruce Almighty. David Chappelle, I'm like 50-50. Sometimes I think he's a genius, and sometimes I'm like, what are you talking about?
I feel that same way about Chappelle. I like Chappelle. I like the show, but sometimes he comes up with some things that are funny. I'm more of a Chris Rock kind of guy because Chris Rock is not afraid to tackle some of the issues that are going on. And with Adam Sandler, my favorite scene will always be him fighting Bob Barker. Happy
Gilmore.
With him.
But Adam Sandler, I don't. Most of his movies, he's an incredible guy. He really is. He made some movies around here, and I heard that he was like amazing to everybody. The people on the, I think it was right around the corner here in Delaware County that they were filming, and he was just so gracious to everybody, and the people just doing, kind of crappy jobs or whatever. He would buy them all lunch, and just a really good guy. But Adam Sandler, I'm not a big fan of, but I thought Happy Gilmore was a hilarious movie.
That was hilarious
movie. So the movie is more funny than I think Adam Sandler was. So credit to him because he carried the movie. Yeah. He's the star. Yeah. So I'll give him that. But Wanda Sykes, she walks into the room and I just start busting up laughing. She lives in Media, Pennsylvania. She's been living there for a long time, like 20 years. She's had a house in Media. Did you know that?
No, I did not know that. And I used to go to Media all the time.
Yeah. And that voice is fake. I know some store owners are like she bought a bunch of gym equipment from a former customer for Football Stories, and they said that she comes in, you recognize her, but when she starts talking, you're like, wow, it's like she has this really like normal voice. That whole voice is fake, that she does. So anyway, but she's hilarious. I don't know.
Stand-up wise and like just like funny wise to me are obviously they're two different talents, right? Like there's people like Adam Sandler stand-up I've never found that funny, but Adam Sandler in movies, there's obviously it's hit or miss, but there's some of it which I'm laughing out loud, right? It's really good stuff. As far as stand-up wise goes, probably like my favorites, so old Dave Chappelle is definitely up there for me. As just like absolutely hilarious, but the older he's gotten, the richer he's gotten. Some things have kind of maybe lost a little touch, I think, on some of his stand-up, because like you commented on Chris Rock and just him touching on certain subjects, stuff like that. I think there was like a down-to-earthness about Dave Chappelle that maybe has gotten lost over some time. Yeah. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. There's Daniel Tosh. I really was a humongous fan of him and his stand-up kind of early on, and even things that he did like kind of with Tosh.0 and things like that, which are really good. The Chappelle Show you kind of already hit on is like sketch comedy stuff like that is where I find probably the most funny stuff. My favorite comedian doing that right now is a guy named Tim Robinson. He had a show called I Think You Should Leave on Netflix. He was a writer on SNL for a few years. Him and Connor O'Malley have been done a bunch of different kind of funny stuff on HBO. More recently, he was the star and producer of a show called The Chair Company I find to be just one of the most incredible pieces of art over the last however many years. It's a sketch comedy show that's basically shot and trying to interpreted like it's a serious HBO drama, like a True Detective. It's shot through like a lens like that. And just the fact that like you're basically looking at like SNL gags shot through like a True Detective lens is just like, it's so disorienting. And what I find to be one of the more rewarding ways, his Netflix show, I Think You Should Leave, is just awesome. And so I'm really excited for him and anything else he's got going on there. So like those are kind of the guys that are there. We talk about guys who I just don't get it about. Jeff Dunham is at the absolute top of that list. I've just never found Jeff Dunham funny, like, period. It's not even just like the puppet thing, but it's like everything about him, I just don't really find that funny. I think he's like, to me, he's like your parents' favorite comedian. It's like kind of how he rides to me. And
he packs arenas still. I agree with you.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. I just like, to me, I just don't find him very funny. I like a lot of wry comedy, like old Norm Macdonald is definitely one of my all-time favorites. Like guys like that who could just like, they're sitting there with a microphone. There's not a lot of antics. There's not a lot of movement or anything like that, but it's just the way they talk that just kind of hits this like thing that just like makes you like, just like think about real world things in such a funny light. Mitch Hedberg was kind of that way for me too. Rest in peace to him. He was an incredible comedian to kind of hit on that kind of tone.
I put only people that are alive on the list.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
fine. No. I mean,
no, 100%. Obviously, go back. Like obviously, like Richard Pryor, Live at the Sunset Strip.
I was
like,
gonna say Richard Pryor,
absolute gold as far as comedy wise goes.
George Carlin.
I love George Carlin. I love George Carlin.
Yep.
And Rodney Dangerfield. I like those. I mean, to me, I don't see a lot of good stand up. I mean, maybe we're past that era, or we're just, or it's just another way of looking at things. I'm not a fan of Kevin Hart, for example. He's okay. I like Key and Peele when they do certain sketches, but I just don't know. I'm not really feeling anybody stand up comedy. I'm just not feeling it.
Chris Rock is the last one that really was a genius. His stand-up is much better than the stuff he's appeared in the movies. Die Hard, he was miscast. He was brilliant in a drama that was on FX. I'm trying to think of it right. Fargo.
Oh, Fargo, yes.
Oh, Fargo. When is that coming back? I missed that, man.
I know.
They only do it every couple of years, and and it's like in a cold northern place.
Yep.
And it was in the 50s. I love pieces like that, and he was incredible. It was a serious. It was a serious series, and he was terrific. First time, and so
I find the disconnect, and like I don't know if there's like a through line to this, but to me it's like really funny people who are working through stand up. It's almost like that's their stepping stone into doing like the movies and the TV and obviously everything else.
Right.
So like when they're doing the stand-up part of it and the stand-up specials or anything else that we kind of like hold on to, or the bits that they had when they were early on in their career, it's because that's where all the time and the energy went, right? Was to formulate like these incredibly funny contrived storylines, or to find like, whether it be in their real life, to find this one little instance that was funny out of something that probably wasn't that funny, which that's the stuff that I find to be the funniest, is when you can kind of shine a light on things that are so serious, but like to kind of make people laugh about it, because that's our escape, right? When things are obviously as dark as they are. And guys like Kevin Hart, like, it's like, how could you be that funny? You're at Lincoln Financial Stadium doing stand-up comedy, right? Like that's not where like stand-up comedy, like you have to be at the Gotham, right? You have to be at the Laugh Factory. You have to be at these places that are like these like damp, cold, like kind of places where they have 2 drink minimums, and people are just like sitting there like trying to find the escape. And like that's why the stand-up is as funny as it is. And I think that's kind of been lost, right? Because now there's like there's no intermediate. It's like either people are at like this little comedy club, or they're selling out stadiums. Like those little intermediate shows that would pop up every once in a while, feels like those have kind of gone by the wayside because ticket pricing is so expensive. It's like, I'm either going to spend, $15-20 to go see this guy at a comedy club, or go to the open mic to go see who the next person that's funny is, or you're going to spend $300 to go see Kevin Hart. Like the in-between part of it has kind of just been lost on it. I think the only people who are doing the in-between really good, like Nate Bargatze. Nate Bargatze does the in-between pretty good, and for a pretty good price.
Well, I saw, I'll finish up with this, but I saw Eddie Murphy at the old Spectrum Theater, where they kind of shut down most of the upper level, and it was really closed in. So I don't know, maybe 6,000 people there, 7,000 people. And he came out with that, it was during that tour where he had the red suit on. That
Eddie Murphy Raw, when he filmed the Raw special.
His first half hour, you literally had to hold your face because your face was hurting from laughing so hard. I mean, there were people, I'm looking around and everybody's doing the same thing. They're like this because he was so funny. And he does it, does the whole thing where he walks like Chris Rock. They walk back and forth because you don't stand there and let people stare at you in one place because then you lose them. You know what I mean? But he was brilliant. I mean, and then he kind of tones it down and starts talking about his childhood days and whatever. But the first half hour or so, he was just insanely funny. And that Chris Rock, his tour when he did all the stuff on Bill and Hillary Clinton with what's her name, with who was the intern? He had the
Monica Lewinsky.
That was like Hall of Fame stuff. You know what I mean? Yeah. So naughty. I'm sure the Clintons didn't like it, but it was you're like holding your face. He was laughed so hard, So, but listen, I appreciate you guys. Trying to come up with better pop questions. I think last 2 weeks we did a better job of that. So, but anyway, so the thanks, Chris Murray from the Chris Murray Report, the Sunday Sun, and Word Radio, WURD. Did I get all that right?
Yep,
and,
all that right.
And of course, Dr. Sean McMillan, Matt Stanley, thanks so much for being a producer and co-host. My name is Al Thompson. Until next time, we'll see you.
When the mountain falls, I'll be the sea to swallow it all. The monkey